I stood there, numb, as the last clump of dirt hit the polished wood of Dad's coffin. The cemetery was filled with a quiet sort of sadness, the kind that fills your chest and sits heavy on your heart. Family and a few close friends were scattered around, their faces somber, eyes glistening with unshed tears. I glanced at Mom. She was calm, too calm. It was as if the whole thing, Dad's death, didn't really touch her. I wanted to believe she was just strong, but a small voice in my head whispered doubts. As people started to leave, offering me sympathetic looks and awkward pats on the back, I felt more alone than ever. Then there was Uncle Joe, Dad's brother, who came up to me, his face etched with grief. "He was a good man, Emily," Uncle Joe said, his voice rough with emotion. "He loved you a lot." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. Dad and I were close, the kind of close where words aren't always needed. After the funeral, I headed back to Mom's place. It felt weird calling it just Mom's now. The house was quiet, the kind of quiet that screams in your ears. Mom was in the kitchen, making tea, as if it was just another day. "Mom, are you okay?" I finally asked. She looked up, her expression unreadable. "Yes, dear. I'm fine. You know how your father and I had our differences, but I'm fine." That was Mom, always brushing things off, never wanting to make a fuss. I wanted to push, to ask more, but I knew it was pointless. A couple of weeks later, I was at work, trying to bury myself in mundane tasks, when my phone rang. It was Mom. "Emily, you won't believe who's here," she said, a hint of excitement in her voice. "Who?" I asked, a sense of unease starting to build. "Your sister. Anna's come back." Those words hit me like a ton of bricks. Anna, my older sister, the family's black sheep. I hadn't seen her in years, not since she left home at 22 in a blaze of anger and rebellion. Why is she back?" I managed to ask. "Oh, you know your sister, always full of surprises," Mom replied, as if Anna's return was the most natural thing in the world. I hung up, my mind racing. Memories of Anna, her wild ways, her constant battles with Dad, flooded back. She was the storm to my calm, always stirring up trouble, pushing boundaries until that one fateful night. I shook my head, trying to clear it. Anna was back, and I had no idea what that meant for us, for Mom, or for the fragile peace we'd built in her absence. But one thing was for sure, nothing was going to be the same again. Driving to Mom's house, my mind was a whirlwind of memories, each more vivid and chaotic than the last. I remembered Anna, my older sister, always the storm center in our otherwise calm family life. She was like a live wire, unpredictable and dangerous. Anna's teenage years were a blur of rebellion. I recalled the smell of marijuana sneaking under her bedroom door, the clink of beer bottles in the dead of night. She would bring home different guys, laughing too loud, the music from her room drowning out the sounds of our family's disapproval. Dad used to argue with her, his voice a mix of anger and desperation. "You're throwing your life away, Anna." He'd yell, but she'd just scoff and roll her eyes. He tried everything, grounding her, pleading with her, but nothing worked. Mom was different. She never confronted Anna, always making excuses for her. "She's just a teenager. She'll grow out of it," she'd say to Dad, her voice tinged with an unspoken blame. It was like a silent war between them, one that grew more intense with each passing day. The worst memory, the one that still haunted me, happened when I was 10. Anna had come home drunk, more so than usual. I was asleep, but the sound of her stumbling around, cursing under her breath, woke me up. The next thing I knew, there was smoke. Thick, choking smoke filling the hallway. Anna had knocked over a candle in her room, and the fire caught quickly. I remember screaming for Dad, the fear paralyzing me as he rushed in, his face set in determination. He managed to put the fire out, but that night changed everything. Dad's patience had reached its limit. "I can't do this anymore. You have to leave," he told Anna, his voice breaking. The fallout was immediate. Mom turned on Dad like I'd never seen before. "How could you throw her out? She's your daughter," she cried. Their relationship, already strained, fractured that night. Anna left the next day. She didn't say goodbye, didn't look back, and just like that, she was gone. We didn't hear from her, not even a call or a letter. Dad tried to find her, but it was like she'd vanished yet. Now, years later, as I pulled into the driveway, my heart pounded with a mix of fear and unresolved anger. How could Anna just walk back into our lives as if nothing had happened? As I stepped out of the car, the weight of the past settled on my shoulders, a burden I wasn't sure I was ready to face again. The air was thick with tension as I sat across from Anna in our old kitchen. Her presence, after all these years, felt like an intrusion, a disruption of the fragile peace we'd maintained since she left. "Why now, Anna? After all this time, why show up out of the blue?" I asked, my voice laced with a mix of curiosity and accusation. Anna looked at me, her expression one of indifference. "I heard about Dad's death. Thought it's about time I came back, see what I'm entitled to from the inheritance." Her words hit me like a slap. "Entitled? You didn't even bother to show up for his funeral, and now you talk about inheritance?" "Yeah, well, Dad and I never got along. Can't say I was sad to hear he's gone," she retorted, her tone harsh and unapologetic. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Her blatant disrespect for our father, her greed, it was too much. "You're unbelievable, Anna. You come back after years, not to mourn, but to claim what you think you're owed?" My voice rose, tinged with anger and disbelief. Mom, who had been silent until now, finally spoke up. "Emily, that's enough. Anna has every right to be here. She's family." "Family? She's been gone for years, not even a call, and now suddenly she's family?" I couldn't hide the bitterness in my voice. "Emily, I won't have you speak to your sister like that. She's been through a lot," Mom said, her voice firm, siding with Anna. Anna smirked, as if pleased with Mom's defense. "See, Mom understands. I'm back now, that's what matters." The conversation left me feeling like an outsider in my own home. Anna's blunt dismissal of our father's death, her eagerness for the inheritance, and Mom's unwavering support for her. It was all too much to take in. As I left the house that day, my mind was a whirlwind of anger and confusion. The return of my sister had reopened old wounds, and it seemed like the battle lines were being drawn once again, with Mom firmly on Anna's side. A week later, we were all seated in the living room, the air heavy with anticipation and unspoken thoughts. The lawyer, Mr. Jennings, cleared his throat, preparing to read Dad's will. Anna sat upright, her eyes sharp and calculating. Mom looked nervous, wringing her hands. I just felt numb, not sure what to expect. "Let's begin," Mr. Jennings said, his voice formal. "I am here to read the last will and testament of Mr. James Harrison." He started with the usual legal jargon, but we were all waiting for the main part, the distribution of the assets. My heart raced as he finally got to it. "To my daughter, Emily Harrison, I leave the family home and a sum of $2 million. I gasped, unable to believe what I'd just heard. The room went silent, the weight of the revelation sinking in. "And to my daughter, Anna Harrison, I regretfully leave nothing due to her estrangement and actions that have caused deep pain to this family." Anna's face contorted with rage. "What? Nothing? This is bullshit." Mom's face was a mix of shock and disappointment. "James, how could you?" she whispered, more to herself. Mr. Jennings continued, unfazed by Anna's outburst. "And to my wife, Mary Harrison, I leave a monthly allowance to ensure she is cared for." "That's it?" A monthly allowance? Mom's voice was tinged with disbelief and hurt. Anna slammed her hands on the table, standing up abruptly. This is unfair. He had no right to cut me out like this. I found my voice. Dad made his decision, Anna. Maybe if you'd been here, been part of this family, it would have been different. Shut up, Emily. You always were the golden child, weren't you? Dad's little favorite. Anna spat, her eyes blazing with anger. Mom turned to me, her expression one of betrayal. Emily, can't you do something? Share the inheritance? It's what your father would have wanted. I shook my head, feeling a mixture of sadness and resolve. I can't believe you're asking this, Mom. After everything, Dad's wishes should be respected. Anna stormed out of the room, cursing under her breath. Mom looked at me, her eyes filled with tears, then followed Anna out. Left alone, I sat there, the magnitude of the situation washing over me. My relationship with my sister and mother had been strained before, but now it felt irreparable. Dad's last wishes had not only divided his assets, but also deepened the rift in our already fragmented family. I braced myself as I approached Mom's house, but nothing could have prepared me for the chaos that unfolded before me. The living room was a disaster zone, littered with empty bottles and trash. Anna was in the center of it all, her laughter sharp against the backdrop of loud, blaring music. "What on earth is this, Anna?" I demanded, my voice cutting through the noise. Anna looked up, a sneer on her face. "Look who decided to show up, the millionaire heiress." Her friends eyed me with a mix of curiosity and disdain. I ignored them and turned to Mom, who sat quietly, looking lost and overwhelmed. "Mom, how can you let her do this?" Mom's response was a mere whisper. "She's just trying to cope." Cope? By turning our home into a bar? My anger was rising, fast and hot. "Oh, please, spare me the lecture," Anna slurred, her face inches from mine. "You always were Dad's little princess, but now I'm taking back what's mine. Let me have my fun." "This isn't fun, Anna. It's a disaster. You need to leave," I said firmly. That's when Anna's face twisted into a sneer. "Make me leave, Emily. I dare you." I took a step forward, but before I could say anything more, Anna's hand flew up and struck me across the face. The slap echoed in the room, a stark, painful sound. I touched my cheek, disbelief and pain mingling on my face. "That's it. I'm calling the police." Anna's laughter was cold. "Go ahead. Call them. See if I care." I dialed the police, my hand shaking with a mix of fear and anger. As the officers arrived, they assessed the situation quickly. Anna's bravado crumbled as they led her away, her protests and insults trailing behind her. I expected Mom to be shocked, maybe even relieved, but her reaction stunned me. "How could you do this to your own sister?" Mom accused, her eyes filled with tears and anger. "She slapped me, Mom. She was destroying your home," I protested, still reeling from the slap and the surreal turn of events. Mom shook her head, her voice trembling with emotion. "She's still my daughter, and you've turned against her." I stood there, speechless. The police car drove away, taking Anna with it, and the reality of what had just happened sank in. My own mother, siding with Anna after everything that had just transpired. As I left the house, the weight of Mom's words and Anna's actions hung heavily on me. The rift in our family had deepened, perhaps beyond repair, and in that moment, I felt more alone than ever. The days following the incident were some of the hardest I'd ever faced. The image of Anna being led away by the police and Mom's accusing words haunted me. I felt torn, unsure of my next move. Sitting in my quiet, orderly living room, I called my best friend, Laura, needing someone to talk to. "Hey, Laura, it's Emily. I don't know what to do." Laura's voice was gentle, a soothing contrast to the turmoil I felt. "What happened, Em?" I recounted the events, my voice wavering as I relived each painful moment. "Emily, you can't keep doing this to yourself. You've done everything you can for your family," Laura said, her tone firm yet kind. "But Mom, she sided with Anna. After everything Anna did," I replied, the hurt evident in my voice. "Sometimes, Emily, you have to think about yourself. You can't fix everything, and you can't keep sacrificing your well-being for them." Her words hit home. I knew she was right, but the thought of cutting ties with my family, especially Mom, was overwhelming. "I know you're right, Laura. It's just hard to accept." "It is hard, but sometimes the hardest decisions are the ones we need to make for our own good." Laura's words stayed with me long after we ended the call. I knew what I had to do, as painful as it was. I couldn't let the chaos and dysfunction of my family drag me down any longer. A few days later, I visited Mom. She was cold, distant. The warmth that once defined our relationship seemed to have vanished. "Mom, we need to talk." I started, my voice steady but my heart aching. "About what, Emily? Have you come to take more away from me?" Her words were sharp, cutting. "Mom, I came to say that I can't keep doing this. What happened with Anna, your reaction? It's too much. I need to step back." Mom's face hardened. "So you're abandoning your family, just like that?" "It's not abandoning, Mom. It's about self-preservation. I can't keep being the one who fixes everything, especially when it hurts me." Mom looked away, her expression unreadable. "If that's your decision, then so be it." Leaving Mom's house that day was one of the most difficult things I had ever done. The finality of it, the sense of a chapter closing, was almost too much to bear. But as I drove away, I knew deep down it was the right decision. For the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of relief, a weight lifting off my shoulders. The path ahead wouldn't be easy, but it was one I needed to take for my own sake. The news that Mom and Anna were living off the meager allowance Dad left in his will was a shock. I couldn't shake off the image of them struggling, so I decided to see it for myself. What I found was far worse than I imagined. Their apartment was in a rundown part of town, the building worn and uncared for. Inside, the scene was dismal, the air stale with the smell of cigarettes and alcohol. The floor was littered with cigarette butts and empty bottles, a testament to their daily life. Anna was sprawled on a shabby couch, her face flushed from drinking, a bottle clutched loosely in her hand. Mom sat beside her, her once meticulous appearance now disheveled, her eyes dull and resigned. "Mom, how can you live like this?" I asked, my voice a mix of concern and disbelief. Mom looked up, her eyes narrowing. "We manage. We don't have the luxury of a fancy house and money, like some people." Her words stung, but I pressed on. "Mom, you can't stay here. It's not safe. Come live with me." Mom's laugh was bitter. "Oh, now you want to help? After everything, you just waltz in here and expect us to jump at your offer?" "It's not like that, Mom. I'm worried about you," I pleaded. Anna stirred, her voice slurred but venomous. "She's just trying to ease her guilty conscience. She got everything, and we got nothing." "I'm not the enemy, Anna. I'm trying to help," I said, frustration mounting. Mom stood up, her body trembling with anger. "Help? Your father and you've done nothing but look down on us. You think because you have his money, you're better than us?" "Mom, please. It's not about the money. I just want you to be safe." I tried to explain, but my words fell on deaf ears. "No, Emily. You made your choice. You chose his side over your own family," Mom said, her voice laced with scorn. I looked at them, at the squalid apartment, at the life they had chosen. I realized then that my offer, my concern, meant nothing to them. They had made their choice, and so had I. As I left, the door closing behind me felt like the end of an era. The pain of their rejection, the harshness of their words, and the reality of our broken family hit me all at once. Walking away, I knew this was the last time I would try to bridge the gap between us. It was time to let go, not out of indifference, but out of a need to find my own peace. The path ahead was uncertain, but it was mine to walk, free from the shadows of a past that I could not change. In the months that followed my decision to walk away from Mom and Anna, I found myself grappling with a mixture of emotions. There were moments of intense loneliness, punctuated by feelings of liberation. It was a strange, bittersweet freedom. One evening, as I sat in my living room, the silence not as oppressive as it used to be, my phone rang. It was Laura. "Hey, Emily, how are you holding up?" she asked, her voice always a source of comfort. "I'm okay, Laura. It's been tough, but I'm getting there," I replied, a hint of resolve in my voice. "You know, Em, sometimes the hardest decisions lead to the best outcomes. You're strong, and you'll get through this." Her words were a reminder of the strength I had found in myself, a strength I never knew I had. "Yeah, I'm starting to see that. It's just, I miss them, you know? It's natural to miss them, Emily. But remember, you're moving forward for a reason." Laura was right. I had made a choice, not just for my well-being, but also to break free from the cycle of dysfunction and pain. In the following weeks, I threw myself into work and started volunteering at a local community center. Helping others brought a sense of purpose and fulfillment that I hadn't felt in a long time. One day, while organizing a charity event at the center, I met Tom, a co-volunteer. His easygoing nature and sense of humor were refreshing. "You're doing a great job, Emily," Tom said as we set up tables for the event. "Thanks, Tom. It feels good to be a part of something positive," I responded, smiling genuinely for the first time in what felt like forever. As we worked together, Tom and I shared stories about our lives, and I opened up about my family, something I hadn't done with anyone in a while. "It sounds like you've been through a lot, but you're turning it into something good," Tom said, his eyes reflecting a mix of admiration and empathy. "Yeah, I guess I am," I said, a sense of pride swelling within me. As the event came to a close, I realized how far I had come. The journey hadn't been easy, but it was mine. I had faced my family's shadows, the pain, and the turmoil, and emerged stronger. Moving forward didn't mean forgetting the past. It meant learning from it, growing, and finding joy in new beginnings. It was about embracing the uncertainty of the future and the possibilities it held.